I'm Stephanie Baloris, your host for Forrester's podcast, What It Means, where we explore the latest market dynamics impacting executives and their customers. Today, I'm joined by Vice President and Principal Analyst Kate Leggett to discuss the benefits and drawbacks of industry clouds. Welcome, Kate.
Hey, thanks for having me, Stephanie. Happy to talk about industry clouds here.
I'm excited for this one. So let's start with the basics. What is an industry cloud? And can you even provide a couple of examples for us?
Yeah, sure. An industry cloud it's a cloud solution that's purpose-built, really from the grounds up for the needs of a industry vertical. It has workflows, user experiences like data models, AI, that's all built for that industry vertical. And these clouds, they also connect to the important core systems, and they're built on infrastructures that support all the regulatory compliance needs for that particular industry. So, Stephanie, that's a lot of words, and it's really a lot easier to explain what an industry cloud is just by using an example. And the one that comes to mind is a health cloud, for example. So this cloud would have experiences and workflows for a patient to be able to schedule appointments with their doctor or care provider. They've got experience for you to pay your bill, to manage your medications, to do things like track your test results over time. And then it also helps the care team that's supporting a patient to be able to coordinate care across different providers. And some health clouds also let you manage all your insurance claims. And more than that, these clouds go deeper with their data and regulatory compliance. They support, for example, the fire standard. It's important to be able to exchange electronic health records, and it integrates into electronic health record systems like Epic and Cerner. And it's got all the AI models that are healthcare specific to be able to help personalize healthcare plans and then support HIPAA compliance. So does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I mean, in that example, I guess two questions come to mind, which is it geared towards a certain type of healthcare provider? So in that case, like everything you just described, if it's industry standard, it's being delivered directly from this highly specialized cloud. Is it geared towards small, medium businesses, small, medium enterprises that normally wouldn't have the development resources to customize these types of capabilities and processes for them? Or do I have it wrong? Is it the opposite? It's actually for, the largest enterprises in this space.
It's actually for companies of all sizes, the very large enterprise, as well as the small healthcare provider. And what it does, it's got all of these experiences and workflows and data models, all purpose built. So it allows companies to get up and running on these clouds really quickly, even smaller companies that don't have the depth of IT resources that an enterprise has. So what it's doing, it's really democratizing these experiences for a particular vertical, and it's letting the small companies compete on the same playing field as a larger enterprise.
When did they start emerging? I mean, obviously it sounds like a key ingredient, which is cloud. You're not deploying this on-prem. You're consuming this. Is it being consumed as a service from the cloud?
Yes, Stephanie. There's all flavors of these clouds. There's clouds that are industry specific, clouds that run on public cloud infrastructure or private infrastructures as well, especially if there's like deep regulatory compliance, like, for example, some of the government instances. But these clouds actually started on premise way back in the 1990s. There were vendors like SAP and Oracle that offered on-premise solutions that supported dozens and dozens of industry editions. And each of these on-premise solutions had their own code base. And they became really inflexible. It was really hard to change these solutions as regulations changed. And so in the early 2010s, all the industry solutions ended up moving to the cloud as a service, where vendors offered really lightweight industry templates back in the 2010s that didn't really give you the industry templates, didn't go deep enough to be really useful. And over the last decade, they've really evolved where we see like large CRM vendors, large ERP vendors are really doubling down on these industry clouds and really offering value added capabilities to support the needs of specific industries.
Okay. And I think you started talking about some of the benefits, which is particularly for like small enterprises, like they can buy into this industry cloud and suddenly they're on the same level playing field as a much larger provider or competitor. What are some of the other benefits?
Lots of benefits. And the ones that come to mind are that they help companies be able to, first of all, migrate from on premise software to the cloud, because these clouds are really baking in all the regulatory compliance that a specific industry vertical would need. And we see this in financial services and government and other highly regulated industries. And what it's also doing is it's pushing the burden of meeting these regulatory compliance requirements onto the cloud software vendor and away from the company. So companies don't have to be worried that much about getting hit by non-compliance fees. So that's one big benefit. The other benefit is like what we talked about already. They're purpose built for a particular industry. And it lets mid-sized companies really adopt these solutions and take their IT resources and really focus them on areas of differentiation where they'll be able to stand apart from their competition instead of getting them to work on the core workflows, for example, that are needed. These clouds also, it's like they have a lot of functions that come in these clouds, but you don't have to adopt them all at once. So you can start with what you need today and get value out of that, and then incrementally add more. Like going back to that healthcare example. So, like a healthcare organization, you could first roll out like a virtual healthcare solution, and then you could follow up with adding like team collaboration or care coordination. And you're getting value at every step of the process. And then for business users and customers, it's like these clouds come purpose built with all the experiences and workflows that have really been battle tested for a particular industry. I talk to a lot of financial services companies, and they all ask, it's like, we need next best offers or next best actions for their agents. But a lot of these companies don't know how to present these offers to the agent or to their customers. And if you pick up a financial services cloud, for example, they've solved all those basic problems because they have battle tested these experiences, these workflows in the field with hundreds and hundreds of their customers. So it gives you, again, these purpose built experiences and workflows and data models that have a lot of street cred. They've been battle tested, they've been proven out, and companies of all sizes are seeing success in using them.
Yeah. It does I guess a couple follow questions, and you and I have talked about this before, and it's like I hear what you're saying, like it's best practices, it's the domain knowledge and the expertise, and the industry cloud providers are bringing that to the organization. I guess I also worry too, which is, so say there's 10 companies on the same financial services cloud. How are they not all just achieving digital sameness? Yeah, they're just digital same, which is, we've all gone to this like same industry cloud. So we're all now adopting the same best practices and using the same domain knowledge. Like, how do you actually differentiate when you're all consuming the same exact cloud that might even be on the same exact infrastructure there.
Sure. And that's a really good point. So, two things. First of all, there's some capabilities where you don't need to differentiate. I call these like the utility capabilities, like appointment scheduling. Should be a service that you're able to deploy. You don't need to build that from scratch. Like credit card, onboarding. Every company is going to have their own workflow, but wouldn't it be nice to be able to have a base workflow that then you can configure or customize instead of building that from scratch? With the rise of low code tooling and platform capabilities, companies now have the ability to pick up like these, call them utilitarian components that are common across perhaps like retail banks, and then use low code tools to be able to differentiate experiences that you offer to your customers. And that's the way that you're able to stand out from the crowd. It's not necessarily building out some of these commoditized capabilities that everyone in your industry needs to use.
That makes sense. And then one other follow-up question to that, and maybe there's some specific examples here, but are there particular combinations of vendors who are delivering industry clouds that are more successful than others? And I'm also thinking too, like take example for like retail, like to this day, there are some retailers who, for example, will not host anything on AWS because there is a fear that ultimately whoever is the provider of this cloud service could then turn around and offer very similar capabilities with this domain knowledge and deep industry vertical expertise that they've gained.
So, very complete industry clouds. We see, for example, front office vendors, like your CRM vendors that are offering really complete, robust industry clouds. Salesforce, for example, has 12 industry verticals. Not all of them are equally mature. Microsoft offers very robust clouds for healthcare, for example. You've got SAP and Oracle, who have always had very strong industry domain experience, and they offer industry clouds. They've actually pivoted their go to market approach to be industry first. Oracle has a very robust communications cloud, for example. And then in the back office, you've got ERP vendors have always encoded industry capabilities into their products. I mean, you think about manufacturing. You got, for example, like discrete and process manufacturing, but then you can go even a step further when you start thinking about all the compliance regulations you need to support. Like food and beverage has different regulations that you need to be able to support than chemicals or CPG. And so there's vendors like Infor, like SAP, that are able to purpose built these industry clouds tuned to a particular industry. NetSuite, for example, has like micro vertical solutions to be able to support, for example, like grocery stores or breweries, because there's so much variations between these little micro verticals. And then you see vendors that have gone really deep in an industry vertical, Blackbaud for nonprofits, or Viva for pharma and life sciences, IQVIA in pharma and life sciences as well. So it's really the horizontal vendors, back office and front office vendors that have pivoted their solutions to bake in industry capabilities. And then you've got those other vendors who have like picked an industry vertical and gone super deep in it.
So along those lines, I mean, all of the benefits sound compelling. So, why isn't everybody on an industry cloud? Like, what are the barriers? What are the considerations? Like, are there downsides? I mean, one of them might be like we talked about, which is, you get all this industry vertical expertise, but now you're beholden to a hyperscaler, right?
Yeah. So lots of downsides. And there's downsides today. And then I think about where we're going, and maybe 5 years or a decade from now, these industry clouds are going to be the preferred way that we buy software because of all the industry capabilities that are baked into them where you don't have to start from scratch. But today, a lot of these industry clouds are just emerging. They have lighter weight or incomplete capabilities. They may script workflows, for example, that are really different from the workflows that you're using. And so you have to figure out, do you want to adopt what the industry cloud has, or do you want to stick to your own? They're a lot more expensive. Sometimes they are double the price of your horizontal applications. So you really have to think about, do you want to customize and spend your resources customizing, or do you want to pay the price tag of a complete solution? You may need professional services or consultancies to be able to deploy these clouds. There's fewer specialized resources that have been trained on industry clouds. There's smaller marketplaces, app exchanges that support these industry clouds. So, those are some of the downsides that you have to weigh against the benefits that these clouds deliver. So, it's not an easy decision of knowing whether you want to take horizontal clouds and then customize, or if you want to adopt your vertical solutions today.
Have you seen any regional differences in terms of either interest or adoption or potentially even vertical differences?
In terms of the clouds, there are more mature clouds and less mature clouds. And where we see a lot of traction is in financial services, retail banking, wealth management, insurance, healthcare, manufacturing, and government and communications. Those are the industries that seem to be leading the charge in industry clouds. And these are also industries that have either specialized workflows or deep industry compliance or the need to be able to integrate into core systems like a core banking system or core like an electronic health record system. And these integrations can be really complex to do.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, there's some commonalities in those industries, like you said, complexity, the need for the specialization, the regulatory requirements. If we really strongly believe like this is the future, right? We're sort of at this beginning stage. They've been around for a bit, but it's still at a beginning stage and various clouds are at different maturity. If you were giving advice to the CIO or the VP of enterprise apps at a company today, what would you tell him or her about getting ready for a move to industry cloud? Like, I know I'm thinking in my mind, like, say today, like you're underweight with tech debt. Is there any benefit to addressing your tech debt now or saying, you know what, leave the tech debt alone and I'm just going to go right to the industry cloud? Or is there, again, like benefits to some of the standardization and consolidation that you would do with your environment today to make that transition easier?
That's a really hard question to answer because typically moving to one of these industry clouds, it's not easy. Lots of things to consider before you move to an industry cloud, like what's the scope of the transformation? What are the architectural standards you want to adhere to? Is this a departmental move or is it an enterprise wide move? What's your current footprint today? You got to think of the cloud that you're moving to. How mature is it? Does it offer experiences and workflows and adapters and compliance that you can really use out of the box? Or do your models really diverge from what these industry clouds offer? What's the maturity of the marketplace, the partner ecosystem, the cost, the expertise that the vendor is bringing to you? So these are all the basic assessment criteria that you have to think about. But more than that, it's actually moving to an industry cloud. It's almost like enterprises or companies of all sizes have to reach a tipping point to be able to get pushed over the edge to consider this move. And it tends to be that your company with their current ecosystem is so customized that you can't innovate fast enough You see these vertical industry cloud vendors rolling out industry capabilities that you really want, but you can't get there. And your company, your technology is, you can't innovate fast enough. And if you can't innovate fast enough and consume all of these like new innovations that are coming at you, you risk becoming obsolete. And so with companies, not only do you have to consider like all the tactical things like, scope of transformation and maturity of the cloud, but you also have to consider where you are in this journey. And do you want to get on board with one of these cloud solutions now, even if it's not mature, and be able to ride that wave with the vendor that you've chosen? Or do you want to keep on customizing and trying to deprecate or modernize your technology now and then ultimately move? So it's a hard decision.
It sounds like first you have to think about bigger philosophical question, like you said, which is where are we as a company and can we keep going in the direction that we're going? So once you make the decision to move, that's when the technical considerations come in, the standards, the architecture. And then from there, it sounds like almost any other kind of like migration, which is, this isn't an overnight migration, like depending on the size of your environment, the complexity. I mean, you're talking multi-month, maybe even multi-year for a very large enterprise in terms of a journey. So in which case, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm almost hearing it's like, this is the future. The migration is difficult. Start now.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Even if the cloud vendors don't have everything you need now, look at the roadmap, look at their strategy, look at the way that they're doubling down on these industry features and ride that wave with the vendor of choice because it is the wave of the future.
Okay. Well, great. Well, that sounds like a perfect place to end. Okay, thank you so much, and thanks for everyone for joining us today.
Well, pleasure's all mine. Thank you for having me.
If you like what you heard today, be sure to check out the agenda for our upcoming technology and innovation summits in Austin, London, and Sydney. Learn more at for.com/tech events. That's forr.com/tech events. Thanks for listening.